From the station working for you, this is Good Morning Indiana, streaming now.
And it is 5 o'clock here on your Tuesday. Good morning to you. I'm Lauren Casey.
And I'm Rafael Sanchez. Here are your headlines on this August the 25th. Several local businesses continue to struggle financially due to the pandemic. This morning, we're taking a look at the barriers they face and how one local organization is lending a helping hand.
A bike ride along the Monon ends with broken bones and major organ damage. The message one Central Indiana woman has for others who use the trail and how she's working to prevent future tragedies.
And the Republican National Convention heading into its second day. We'll have a look at some of the highlights from last night and what you can expect on this Tuesday.
All right, it is 5 o'clock though, and first we want to thank you for joining our team here on Good Morning Indiana. Todd, Raphael, it is great to be back with you guys after a few days off.
Who's that? Oh, it's you, Lauren. Welcome back. It's great to have you back. Hey, happy belated birthday. Great to have you back as always. A big shout out to Nicole Griffin for filling in for you yesterday. Yes. And Todd Clausen, welcome to Humidity USA.
It is back yesterday. You know, it came back yesterday in a big time way, Raphael, and sticking around today and into the day tomorrow. It's going to be a pretty hot stretch of weather for us. And so as you get going on this Tuesday morning, what do you need to grab before you go as you get out the door? Well, definitely you need to have the sunglasses handy, have that sunscreen handy as well. And I would also include on this, drink plenty of water. I was golfing yesterday in a charity outing for the station, and I just kept drinking more and more water and Gatorade because it was working up a sweat really, really quickly. So you don't have to exert yourself very much to get dehydrated out there with this kind of heat. So make sure you take the appropriate precautions. 76 in Muncie, 74 in Indianapolis, as well as Bloomington. All is quiet on the satellite radar picture here locally. There are a few showers and storms in the Chicago area. They should continue to weaken, but it's something we'll keep an eye on for you. A couple of those may sneak into far northern portions of central Indiana here later on this morning. Otherwise, it's a sun-filled start for us. 74 degrees at 8 a.m., 87 degrees by the time we get to the noon hour. Your 5 p.m. temperature is 90 degrees, but we should hit our high temperature today of 93 a little before 5 o'clock here this evening. Tomorrow remains hot. We'll talk about that and look ahead to some changes by the end of the week coming up in Maine weather in just a few minutes. Lauren.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. Let's take a look at traffic as you're heading out on the roads right now. Here's a look at I-65 all the way up at State Road 32. So now we did have an accident here in the overnight hours closing the southbound lanes here between State Road 47 and State Road 32. It's looking like everything, though, is back moving this morning, and NDOT tweeting out that looks like it is wrapped up and things are back open. So we'll continue to keep a close eye on this spot if you're traveling to Boone and Clinton counties this morning. Looks like everything at this point is traveling up to speed. Well, the Republican National Convention is continuing tonight with First Lady Melania Trump set to speak.
Our Scripps reporter Joe St. George is in Washington with the highlights as well as the surprises from the GOP event.
Night one of the Republican National Convention felt at times like a July 4th special with images of our country displayed throughout the evening.
It's an honor to have you in the White House.
President Donald Trump appearing multiple times, highlighting coronavirus essential workers and Americans previously held hostage overseas he helped return home.
And we have some more that we're working on right now to get back.
Night one featuring supporters of the president from around the country.
What you saw happen to us could just as easily happen to any of you.
From the St. Louis couple who went viral for pointing guns at Black Lives Matter protesters.
Shot my daughter at point blank range.
To a father who lost his child in Parkland, Florida, to prominent black leaders.
I take it as a personal insult that people would think I've had a 37-year friendship with the racists.
Our family went from cotton to Congress in one lifetime.
Potential future Republican presidential candidates speaking too, ranging from Nikki Haley to Donald Trump Jr.
And he rallied the mighty American private sector.
We will build on the progress of our past.
The Democrats, for their part, projected the number of COVID cases on a building near the auditorium where most speeches took place. In just a few hours now, the president will find out whether his RNC beat the DNC in television ratings. And tonight, we will hear from First Lady Melania Trump, who will speak from the newly revamped Rose Garden at the White House.
One thing that the First Lady has that the President doesn't is a bit of mystery about her. She doesn't speak all that often. Meanwhile, President Trump has already spoken several times since his convention began yesterday. In Washington, I'm Joe St. George.
As we continue to cover Democracy 2020, Vice President Mike Pence took to the podium, making a case for President Trump's re-election. Pence spoke last night about many issues, including the economy, the military, and the pandemic. While he did not lay out specific plans, he said the White House has done everything in its power to contain the coronavirus and will continue to do so if given a second term.
Before this great global pandemic struck our nation, more Americans were working than ever before. We were setting records in this economy, left and right. And in the midst of this pandemic, as I'll speak about Wednesday night, the leadership of this president and the compassion of the American people shone forth. And we'll continue to work every day until we put this coronavirus in the past.
The Vice President will take the stage again on Wednesday night.
And back here at home, Raphael, several businesses are still struggling from the effects of the pandemic. Our Kelsey Anderson joins us live now with some of the barriers that they're facing and how one local organization is stepping in to help. Kelsey, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Lauren. So we've heard from several small businesses across the state that are struggling right now, and they're also struggling to get those loans that the government has promised. Stacy and Rick's Soul Food on the east side may not make it to 2021. And owner Rick Fowler says he's been denied for multiple loans and grants. He says he's even talked to someone in the governor's office for help, but still hasn't received any loan money. Larry Williams Jr. is president of the Indy Black Chamber and says Stacy and Rick's is not the only restaurant struggling after trying to get financial help. Williams says the economic injury disaster loan from the Small Business Administration is one of several programs many small and black-owned businesses are missing out on. Williams says the Paycheck Protection Program, meant to help businesses pay their employees during the pandemic, requires businesses to provide their workers with a W-2. So that means businesses that rely on contractors or pay workers in cash are ineligible.
Another reason why they got denied for the PPP loan was they were not profitable. And usually the first 5 years of your company, you're not profitable. You know, you're just kind of staying afloat.
Rick Fowler thought some of the loans he applied for would be automatically forgiven, but Williams says that is true, but on paper it has to look as if the business can pay that loan back. So those without profits or employees without W-2s can't show that they can pay it back. So if you are an owner of a struggling small business right now, it's important that you reach out to organizations like the Indy Black Chamber or your local chamber for help. Reporting live, Kelsey Anderson, WRTV.
Kelsey, thank you so much. Meanwhile, financial help is coming to music and entertainment venues in Marion County. 17 independent businesses will receive funding from the Music City Strategy Recovery Program. Among them, the Chatterbox, Burnside Inn, the Jazz Kitchen, and the Vogue. Many live music venues have not been able to operate for several months due to the public health orders related to COVID-19. The funding comes from the CARES Act. Each venue will receive about $7,400.
Taking a look now at the latest data from the State Department of Health, 688 new cases of the virus were reported on Monday. That's up slightly from over the weekend. In total, 87,592 Hoosiers have tested positive for COVID-19. 5 additional deaths were also reported on Monday. That brings the total number of Hoosier lives lost from the virus to 3,008. So far, 1,002,038 Hoosiers have been tested for COVID-19. 8.7% of those tests have come back positive.
Lauren, this morning, safety concerns involving a section of a popular walking and biking trail here in Indianapolis that's now under construction. This morning, WRTV's Alyssa Donovan joins us live with the details. Alyssa, good morning.
Good morning, Raphael. We spoke with a woman who tells us her husband was hit on his bike while crossing at the intersection just up here. It's Winthrop and 38th Street. Now, that area is actually a detour for where the trail is going to be. This whole part is under construction right now as they build a bridge over 38th Street for safety for the Monon Trail. Now, Katie Swaney, her husband Jack, rides his bike every evening. Swaney says he's typically gone a few hours. Last Wednesday, he never came home. Instead, she received a phone call from Methodist Hospital informing her Jack was being rushed to surgery after he was hit by a motorcyclist while crossing at that intersection. Jack suffered 2 collapsed lungs, a compound fracture in his femur, 4 broken ribs, and he needed to have his spleen removed. The person on the motorcycle was also taken to the hospital. Swaney says she wants to warn people about the dangerous intersection, and she wants to see more signage alerting drivers to watch for pedestrians.
I mean, obviously nobody's walking out or biking out into oncoming traffic on purpose. And then a car just comes barreling around the corner. 52nd is terrible as a driver as well. You can't see past the bushes. You can't see when there's people coming.
A spokesperson with the Department of Public Works says the area Swaney's husband was hit is a temporary detour while the new bridge is built for the Monon over 38th Street to improve safety for pedestrians. DPW also says that many intersections along the Monon Trail that intersect with oncoming traffic do have signage that says yield to pedestrians, yield to those who are on the trail. There is also typically signage for those on the trail to warn them they are coming up to a busy intersection. Reporting live, I'm Alyssa Donovan, WRTV.
Alyssa, thank you. For the 5th time in as many seasons, the Pacers could not get beyond the first round of the NBA playoffs. Miami pulled off a 4-game sweep, winning 99-87 in Orlando last night. But some local fans still had a night to remember. The Blue and Gold teamed up with the Indianapolis Indians to host a watch party at Victory Field. The Indians president and general manager says while having their season canceled has been really difficult, it's given the organization an opportunity to host creative and special events at the ballpark. Pacers fans say mission accomplished.
I think it's awesome. This is great. We love Victory Field anyway. It's a nice venue.
It's a great place to see a sporting event, apparently regardless of the sport.
I'm just really glad I got to have a beer and a hot dog at Victory Field in 2020.
Well, proceeds from the watch party will benefit youth programs sponsored by Indiana Sports Corps. Now, that is a pretty creative idea, Todd. Hopefully they were staying hydrated and cool out there because it's been pretty hot the past couple of days.
Yeah, you know, thankfully the sun was setting behind them at Victory Field there as that game got going in the evening hours, because if you were in the full sunlight yesterday, you worked up a sweat very quickly and you became dehydrated very quickly as well. I drank a ton of water on the golf course yesterday and I was just sweating up a storm. I couldn't quench my thirst. It was so warm out there. And today and tomorrow are going to be even warmer. Yesterday we up to 91, today and tomorrow up to 93 degrees before we finally start to cool it down as we work our way into your Thursday. One of the reasons why we'll start to cool it down is because we'll start to bring back in some rain chances as we get into Thursday and Friday. And those rain chances are partially due to Laura, which is the tropical system down in the Gulf of Mexico. It'll start to impact our area with definitely some cloud cover and then the potential for showers and storms. We'll talk more about Laura and the rest of your 7-day planning forecast coming up in just a little bit.
Todd, thank you so much. This morning, the National Guard in Wisconsin after hundreds took to the street in a protest of a police shooting. After the break, the latest from city leaders.
Evacuations are underway in at least 2 states as 2 storms threaten the Gulf Coast. Straight ahead, how Texas and Louisiana are preparing for the double threat. It's 5:14. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This morning, the National Guard is in Kenosha, Wisconsin after protests erupt over the shooting of Jacob Blake. The 29-year-old was shot in the back multiple times by police on Sunday evening. Cell phone video shows Blake walk around the front of the SUV with 2 officers a step or 2 behind him. Blake enters the driver's side door of his car. 1 officer grabs the tail of his shirt and 7 shots are heard. Blake's children were in the car at the time of the shooting. The video of the incident prompted massive protests in the city, some of which turned violent. Blake's family and city leaders are calling for peace while the investigation continues.
We understand everybody's anxieties is up. To have watched the video that we watched as his uncle was disturbing, to say the least. And we're asking everybody to be their better selves. We can't destroy our own communities. We want to continue to protest and get justice without destroying our own communities.
The commitment that I make to everyone, and make to their family, to the officer and everyone else, is justice will be served, people will be held responsible for their actions, and we will know the truth.
Blake is now in an intensive care unit, according to his family's attorney. The two officers are on administrative leave.
Lauren, a nationwide manhunt for a pair of alleged killers with an Indiana connection is now over. A 42-year-old Timothy Sargent and 20-year-old Savannah Emick were found and arrested in South Dakota on Monday morning. The three-state shooting rampage began back on August the 17th when Sargent allegedly shot a 29-year-old man in Akron, Ohio. Police say he then shot and killed 22-year-old Rebecca Tomlinson. It's believed that Sargent and Emick then drove to West Virginia, where Sargent is suspected in the killing of a 62-year-old man. After that shooting, police believe the two then drove to southern Indiana. Police say the two opened fire on a family near the entrance of the O'Bannon Woods State Park in Corden. The driver and his wife were hurt, according to state police. A 16-year-old girl in the back seat was not harmed. This morning, evacuations are now underway as a double threat of tropical storms Laura and Marco. They're now barreling, Lauren, towards the Gulf Coast.
And Rafael, both Texas and Louisiana are bracing for what could be a historic event. But the coronavirus pandemic is affecting what would be a normal option for people forced to flee from their homes. In Louisiana, leaders say no state-run shelters will be opened. Though Marco weakened throughout the day, Laura remains a threat. The second storm is expected to intensify into a major hurricane as it churns through the Gulf. Back here at home, let's get a look at our forecast for the Hoosier State and here in central Indiana. So Todd, what can we expect for our Tuesday?
You know, more heat and more humidity in the forecast. Take yesterday, Lauren, kind of carry it over to today and add a couple degrees to that high temperature. And that'll be your math equation for the day today. And that puts us into the low 90s once again. This morning as you get going, it's warm, it's clear. Yesterday we had a few storms out there. Not the case this morning. And by the noon hour, we're really heating things up. And this evening is going to be hot and dry as well, as we are going to have high pressure firmly in control of our forecast for the day today, and that's going to allow the temperatures to climb a couple degrees higher. Yesterday we had a little bit of a breeze out there in the afternoon. Probably today not quite as much of a breeze out there. It's 74 in Indy right now, as well as Bloomington. 73 is the current temperature in Kokomo. Skies are clear all across the area. Should be a beautiful sunrise. There's a few showers and storms up near the Chicago area. That's something we'll have to keep an eye on. A couple of those could try to sneak into northern portions of central Indiana here this morning. But for the most part, they should continue to weaken as they make their way off here to the south and to the southeast. Notice the temperatures. We hold pretty steady the next couple hours. Then as soon as the sun gets higher above the horizon, temperatures will moderate very, very quickly. 85 degrees by 11 a.m. Our high temperature today all the way up to 93 degrees with just a very, very small chance. You see 10% there on the bottom of your screen, chance of a pop-up storm later on this afternoon in the heat and humidity. But most of us do not have to worry about seeing that rain threat. And then as we work our way into this evening, still near 90 degrees at 7 p.m. Then we'll slowly cool back down into the 80s as we get into the 9 and 10 o'clock hour. Tomorrow, we're looking at sunny skies from start to finish. Temperatures will be a couple degrees warmer once again as we get up into the low 90s, and then 8 p.m. still at 85 degrees. But I do think tomorrow's probably the last day of the 90-degree temperatures because as we work our way into Thursday and then beyond, we start to bring in one more in the way of cloud cover, and then on Thursday we'll start to bring in some scattered showers and storms, as you see here on TrueCast, and that is going to help to keep the temperatures down a couple degrees, but also will bring rain chances into the forecast. Friday's the day. Lauren mentioned the chance of the tropical storm Laura impacting us. That's probably the day it brings in the clouds and the best potential for some showers in our forecast. So Friday's the day that may change a little bit weather-wise this week. And then as we get into the weekend, cooler temperatures. Sunday is looking terrific at this point with lots of sunshine and a high of 80 degrees. Lauren?
All right, Todd, thank you so much. Well, concerts and music festivals could be making a comeback sooner rather than later. Up next, how German researchers are hoping to bring back large crowd events. It's 5:22. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So, Raphael, researchers in Germany are hoping that a recent experiment could mean the return of live music and large festivals.
So, Lauren, this is really a cool experiment. Over the weekend, they held a 1,500-person experimental indoor concert. Check out these details. The goal to better understand how COVID-19 spreads at crowded events. So first, fans had to get a negative COVID-19 test, which is good, and also wear face masks. Then they were given fluorescent hand gel so that scientists could see which surfaces were touched most often. And then smoke was pumped to track how the ventilation affects the spread of the virus. Scientists are now analyzing the data to see how big cultural and sporting events could be held safely. Recommendations could come out by the end of the year. Cannot wait to see those results. Now time for your forecast with our Todd Clausen. Good morning, TK.
Raphael, good morning to you. Another hot day in store for us here across central Indiana. That's by far the biggest take from your weather headlines today, as high temperatures will eventually be up into the 90s. It's a quick warm up this morning with nothing but sunshine out there. Already 87 degrees by the time we get to the noon hour. And then as we transition into the afternoon hours for you, highs will be in the low 90s. Expecting a high temperature today right around 93 degrees with just a few fair weather clouds later on this afternoon. And maybe just a chance of a very, very spotty storm flaring up in the heat and humidity, but most of us should remain completely dry. We'll talk more about your extended forecast coming up when Good Morning Indiana continues right here on WRTV.
From the station working for you, this is Good Morning Indiana, streaming now.
There's a new roadblock for Hoosiers filling for unemployment benefits. Now at 5:30, we're taking your concerns to the Department of Workforce Development to clear up the confusion.
And if your morning run involves the Monon Trail, one woman has a warning for you. This morning, the incident, she says, has her husband fighting for his life. It is 5:30 here on Good Morning Indiana. Thanks for joining our team. Raphael, good morning to you down in Johnson County.
Lauren, good morning to you. As I stepped outside this morning, the crickets are chirping loudly. Todd Clausen, you know, I'm a cricket whisperer. They want to know how long will this heat last? It is quite humid out there, even right now at 5:30 in the morning.
You know, those crickets, they like this heat and humidity, Raphael. When it's cold out, you don't hear them. So you better whisper in their ear and tell them to enjoy it the next couple days here as we're going to continue to deal with this heat and humidity over the course of at least today and tomorrow. Then there's some minor changes as we head into the weekend. Outside right now, skies are clear. 74 degrees is your current temperature out there. Winds are out of the southwest right now at 7 miles per hour. And everywhere you go in central Indiana this morning, temperatures are in the 70s, 76 in Muncie, 74 is the current temperature in Bloomington. Keeping an eye on a few of these showers and storms up near the Chicago area. They're starting to fall apart, which is the good news for our forecast, but it's not out of the question. Some of those clouds and maybe a sprinkle could sneak into northern Indiana as we work our way into the morning hours, but most of that should miss us. We're expecting a sun-filled day for us from start to finish. Warming quick, 87 degrees already by the noon hour, on our way up to a high temperature later on this afternoon. Lauren, that's going to top off at 93 degrees.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. Let's take a look at traffic as you're heading out on the roads this morning. Here's a live look at the North Split. Now, you can't see too much here from our camera. Looks like most things are traveling up to speed, but we do have a crash to tell you about. This is in the eastbound lane of I-70, the right lane there at the North Split. We do have a crash closing that right lane, so just use caution as you travel through that area. Take it a little bit slower as you're heading through the North Split. Other than that, traffic around the metro area looks to be traveling up to speed. Raphael?
This morning, we are working for you, WRTV, getting answers for Hoosiers who are running into a new roadblock when applying for their unemployment benefits. So let's get right to this critical story. Many people collecting the pandemic unemployment assistance, better known as PUA, say that they're suddenly having an they're not eligible for this benefit after filling out a voucher. A PUA provides benefits to those who are self-employed or who are in the gig economy. WRTV reached out to the Department of Workforce Development. In a statement, officials say the department added a question on the PUA weekly unemployment insurance vouchers to help identify fraud. But the question has created some confusion among Hoosiers. According to the statement, the department is reviewing claimant answers and will cancel all issues where there appears to be that confusion. They say the issue is expected to be resolved by midweek.
Well, several businesses we know are still struggling from the effects of the pandemic. And so this morning, our Kelsey Anderson is joining us live with some of the barriers that they're facing and how one local organization is stepping up to help them. Kelsey, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Lauren. So you're right, businesses are still struggling across the state, struggling to stay open, struggling to bring new customers in, and struggling to get that PPP loan. So we stopped in at Stacy and Rick's Soul Food on the east side, and they tell us they may not make it to 2021. Owner Rick Fowler says he's been denied for multiple loans and grants. He says he's even talked to someone in the governor's office for help. But Larry Williams Jr. says he can help. He is the president of the Indy Black Chamber and says Stacy and Rick's is not the only restaurant struggling after trying to get financial help. He says the Economic Injury Disaster Loan from the Small Business Administration is one of several programs many small and Black-owned businesses are missing out on. Williams says the Paycheck Protection Program meant to help businesses pay their employees during the pandemic requires businesses to provide their workers with a W-2. That means businesses that rely on contractors or pay their workers in cash are ineligible. He tells us they are trying to get funded so they can assist more businesses in a timely manner.
We're here to help the Black community, because as these Black businesses grow, they hire Black people. And as Black people get good jobs and, they no longer rent, they start buying homes. And once they buy homes, they invest into their community. And as the Black community grows, Indianapolis grows as a whole.
The mayor's office told us the city does not fund the operation of the Indy Black Chamber, but it does contract the chamber for several COVID relief programs. They gave us a breakdown of each. The Indy Chamber says 28% of its rapid response loans went to Black-owned businesses. 38% of the PPP loans it helped administer went to Black-owned businesses, and 15% of Ready to Restart grants have gone to Black-owned businesses. The Restart grant helped businesses pay for protective equipment and other safety measures. And the Indy Black Chamber was one of the Indy Chamber's outreach partners for the program. So if you are an owner of a small business or a small restaurant that's struggling right now, you need to reach out to these organizations like the Indy Black Chamber or your local chamber for help and guidance on how you can get that loan money. Reporting live, Kelsey Anderson, WRTV.
Kelsey, thank you so much. More than 87,000 Hoosiers have tested positive for COVID-19 since this pandemic began. Here's a look at the latest numbers from the State Department of Health. 688 new cases have been confirmed, bringing the total to 87,592. 5 more deaths were also reported. The death toll in Indiana now stands at 3,008. The state has reached a milestone, testing more than 1 million Hoosiers so far.
Well, a Central Indiana woman says more needs to be done to help keep people safe along the Monon Trail. This after her husband was hit on his bike ride. WRTV's own Alyssa Donovan joins us live with the details this morning. Alyssa, good morning to you.
Good morning, Lauren. And the area that her husband was hit is just on the road from here, and it's a temporary intersection due to the construction of this bridge over 38th Street. Now, this bridge is being built as a safer option for those using the Monon crossing the busy road. The temporary intersection that Jack Swaney was hit at is 1 block down at 38th and Winthrop. We spoke with Swaney's wife, who says she wants to make drivers and pedestrians aware of the busy roadway and the detour. This after Jack Swaney was hit by a motorcycle while riding his bike last week. Jack suffered multiple injuries, including collapsed lungs, a fractured femur, and broken ribs. Swaney says she wants there to be more notice to drivers that the Monon Trail detour is there.
I would love to see stop signs, minimally some kind of signage that is very clearly stating who has the right of way that drivers can see.
DPW says many of the Monon Trail intersections include flashing beacons or signage for vehicles that say yield to trail users or something similar. There's also signage on the trail notifying cyclists and pedestrians of the upcoming intersection. But the intersection that is temporary is quite dark right now. There is a small sign that says Monon Trail crossing. Watch for bikes and walkers as you are driving through. This raised bridge is supposed to be completed by July of next year. Reporting live, I'm Alyssa Donovan, WRTV.
Alyssa, thank you so much. Bus stops may be changing for Indigo riders. The transit system has been studying how many people get on and off at each of the bus stops along the routes. The results will lead to some stops to be consolidated or simply just moved. A part of the goal is to space out stops that are too close together to help make routes more efficient. An Indigo spokesperson says out of the system's 3,385 stops, 544 will be impacted. Riders will begin seeing stickers on affected bus stops as soon as August the 31st. Changes will begin as soon as September the 14th.
The time right now is 5:39 on our Tuesday, and hiring Hoosiers is connecting you to career opportunities. IU Health is taking a new approach to fill nursing positions. We know nurses have been in high demand, and the pandemic has made those positions even more critical in hospitals all across the country. So today, the Health Network is hosting its first virtual hiring fair for nurses. There are openings for several hundred RNs all across IU Health's system of hospitals, and this week they're hoping to staff the job openings at Methodist and University hospitals here in downtown Indy. Candidates can sign up for a 30-minute interview with hiring managers, and if they're a good fit, IU Health will be making job offers on the spot.
We've been able to avoid any workforce reductions or furloughs like I know some other systems have experienced. So we've been actively hiring throughout. And if anything, we're trying to staff up because we want to support our community. And, we don't know what the fall will bring, but every nursing role filled is a way that we can best care for patients.
Well, there are full and part-time positions available as well. This is the first virtual hiring event, and IU Health is planning more for the future. It all kicks off today and it runs through Thursday. So to sign up for a time slot, you can just click on this story by going to hiringhoosiers.com. At 5:40, let's check in with Todd and see what we can expect in our Tuesday forecast. A hot one, Todd.
It is going to be a hot one. So as the kids head off to school this morning, if they have to go to the bus stop, temperatures are in the 70s. It's a little on the muggy side here this morning. And as we go forward throughout the course of the day, we're going up to 91 degrees. So as the kids come home, they may not want to go outside. They may just want to stay inside in the air condition if it's available with that high temperature there again into the low 90s. Probably a degree or two warmer today than it was yesterday. Going forward in this forecast, it's going to remain pretty muggy the next couple days. You notice eventually with that yellow line, the humidity will start to drop as we work our way into the weekend, and that drop is behind what will be potentially the remnants of what is currently a tropical storm Laura moving through. Once that goes through on Saturday, I think we do usher in a pretty nice weather pattern starting on Sunday and into next week. We'll talk more about that coming up in your extended forecast in just a little bit.
Todd, thank you so much. The Republican National Convention now underway. We'll take a look back at the RNC's first day. That's up next, right here on Good Morning Indiana.
So the Republican National Convention is underway 1 week after the Democrats hosted their big event. GOP leaders and party dignitaries are throwing their weight behind Trump ahead of what's shaping up to be a fierce re-election bid. ABC's Inez de Locatera is in Washington now with the latest.
Overnight, the Republican Party uniting behind President Trump.
This president has a record of strength and success. The former vice president has a record of weakness and failure.
The RNC kicking off with a mix of live speeches and virtual content and a speaker lineup that included close Trump associates and family.
Biden has promised to take that money back out of your pocket and keep it in the swamp. That makes sense, though, considering Joe Biden is basically the Loch Ness Monster of the swamp.
Republicans also taking the chance to paint the president's 2020 opponents and the Democratic Party as far left.
If we let them, they will turn our country into a socialist utopia.
President Trump expected to make an appearance every day of the convention, making a surprise speech on Monday after formally becoming his party's nominee.
What they're doing is using COVID to steal an election. They're using COVID to defraud the American people, all of our people, of a fair and free election.
But the Biden camp calling day one a parade of dark and divisive fear-mongering designed to distract from the president's failure on the pandemic and the economic fallout, releasing this new ad.
We need a team that's up to the task.
And tonight, the big speaker will be First Lady Melania Trump, who will deliver her speech from the White House Rose Garden. Inez de la Cuetara, ABC News, Washington.
Let's stay on Democracy 2020. As they campaign, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will now undergo regular testing for coronavirus. They're increasing some of their health protocols in the final stretch before Election Day in November. The change comes after Biden's deputy manager said that this weekend that neither Biden or Harris had been tested. The campaign says it will make the information public if either nominee tests positive. Staff members will also be tested often.
California fire officials say that the wildfires this year have already burned an area roughly the size of Delaware. This is a look at the SCU Lightning Complex fire. This is near San Jose. The huge blaze continues to grow and it's caused many people to evacuate. Right now, it's only 15% contained. Footage from the nearby CZU lightning fire show the damage left behind. Homes and cars destroyed in those flames. Statewide, officials say 1.4 million acres have been charred from this year's fires. Back here at home, it is a hot one in the forecast, so let's check in with Todd Clausen.
Yeah, you know, that's the main headline here going forward in this forecast, Lauren. Today, it's just going to be the heat once again. Yesterday, we got to 91 degrees. That was the first 90-degree temperature so far this August in 2020. Obviously, we've been there in June and July, but this month it's been running a little bit cooler. And today, we'll probably tack on that second 90-degree day as we start a little mini heat wave. Or we started it yesterday, I guess we should say. 76 in Muncie right now, 74 in Indy as well as Bloomington, 73 is the current temperature in Greenwood. Radar is quiet. What you see showing up there north of Lafayette is just some feedback. There is no rain there currently. Where there is some rain, though, is up near the Chicago area. Some storms rolling through the Windy City. They're weakening right now, but you do notice quite a bit of cloud cover associated with these storms. So it's not another question for those of you who live up towards Logansport, Delphi, into the Peru, even Marion, Hartford City area. You may have to deal with a little bit of cloud cover and maybe a quick passing shower as that storm system continues to weaken as it drops off towards the south and east this morning. You see TrueCast picking up on that, but the rest of central Indiana will feature mostly sunny skies all across the area. Not only this morning, but throughout the entire day. And then as we work our way into the evening hours, again in northern locations where it's just a little more unsettled, there could be a spot shower, a thunderstorm later on this afternoon, but almost 99.9% of us remain completely dry throughout the day today, with just the heat and humidity the main focal point of the forecast. 87 by the noon hour, 90 degrees by 2 p.m., and then high temperatures will top off right around 93 degrees as we get into the afternoon hours. That'll probably occur between about the 3 and 4 o'clock hour. Then this evening, we'll see temperatures drop down into the mid-80s with sunset at 8:28. Tomorrow morning, more of the same. Temperatures in the 70s. It's warm. It's on the muggy side. And tomorrow is going to be another 90-degree day. So if we get to 90 degrees or higher today and tomorrow, that'll make it an official heat wave, which is technically considered 3 days in a row of 90-degree temperatures or more. So as we look at your 7-day planning forecast, Thursday, that streak probably comes to an end as we build in more cloud cover and the chance of storms. Friday, we could be impacted by the remnants of what is currently a tropical storm, Laura, with some clouds and some showers. And then much cooler air works its way back in for the weekend. In fact, by Sunday and Monday morning, we're looking at temperatures, Lauren, that will be in the upper 50s.
All right, Todd, that sounds pretty nice. nice. Right now, as you're heading out on the roads, though, we do have a traffic alert for drivers in the downtown area. Take a look at our INDOT traffic camera here at this major slowdown. This is at the North Split. We do have a crash in the eastbound I-70 right lane at the North Split, causing these delays. You can see it is slow moving through that area, so give yourself that extra time if this is part of your commute this morning, or you may want to reroute if possible. This is an area we'll continue to keep our eyes on throughout the morning and let you know when things are picking back up. Raphael?
So, Lauren, whether you live here in Franklin or IPS or anywhere across the state of Indiana, many students will be logging into their iPads or their Chromebooks to continue remote learning this morning. In Mexico, children are turning on their TVs and radios to return to class. Mexico's 30 million students started class this week. Everything is being broadcast on TV 24 hours a day for preschoolers all the way through high schoolers. About 93% of Mexican households have a television, making it more accessible than the internet, which is only about 50% of households have the internet service. For those that don't have a television, radio programs will also be broadcasting those lessons, including in indigenous languages. With more kids spending more time in front of TV screens or their computer screens for virtual learning, there are more concerns about how their eyes will be affected. Optometrists say nearsightedness is something that children can experience after too much screen time. And they recommend spending as much time outside as possible and using the 20-20-20 rule to help offset the eye strain as well as dry eyes.
Every 20 minutes, you take a 20-second break looking 20 feet away. So this can even be something that the teachers can incorporate in their lesson plans.
The 20-20-20 rule. Blue light is another concern. Experts say there's not enough evidence showing that blue light glasses actually work. Many devices allow you to change how much is emitted. Changing those settings is something we can do to also protect our sight. And families should see an eye doctor if they feel their kids are feeling any fatigue in their eyes. Lauren?
Well, Raphael, we've heard about people going on some pretty big adventures, but after the break, we'll introduce you to a cat that's giving people a run for their money. It's 5:53. Stick around. We'll have more just after the break. Welcome back. So, Raphael, an Air Force cargo plane flying out of California landed in Maine earlier this summer with an unexpected passenger.
So that unexpected passenger is a hitchhiking kitty. The plane was flying from California to Maine, but made a brief stop in Colorado, and that's where officials believe the cat jumped on board. A couple fostering that cat have now called him Cargo. What a good name, Cargo, and is astonished that the kitty made the long journey. But Lauren, my biggest concern this morning, the only cat on my mind, is the Pacers mascot Boomer. Their trip to the playoffs is now over after their big loss to the Miami Heat. And of course, Todd Clawson, the Heat is now making headlines here in our forecast.
Sure is, Raphael. You know, today's probably going to be the second day in a row that we get to 90 degrees. In fact, I think today is actually going to be even a little bit warmer than it was yesterday as we get up to 93 degrees, potentially 93 degrees tomorrow as well. And then cooler temperatures come in for the weekend. That's due to more clouds, some storm chances Friday, especially as the remnants of Tropical Storm Laura make their way through the area or just south of the area. But Sunday's looking great with lots of sunshine and a high of 80 degrees. The time now is 5:57. You're watching Good Morning Indiana right here on WRTV. Stay with us. We're back at the top of the hour with your 6 o'clock headlines.